Welcome back to another episode of Five Vibes Podcast, episode number 13. Glad to have you back. Sorry you missed last week. Last week was a little busy for myself and Devin. Devin is still a little bit busy right now, as you can tell. It's just me. So we're going to do a little solo episode. Hopefully we kind of cover everything that we typically do. But let's get into it. So obviously the whole sports betting thing has been a really big thing recently. Just super unfortunate because you have, even obviously outside the UFC, you have the NBA who's kind of going through with the whole Terry Rozier thing. But it's a shame that sports betting has kind of caused this ripple of just, I don't know. Just a wave of greed, I guess, from like these athletes who are trying to get some extra money. Now, I know like it's kind of hard for an NBA player to be in a position. At least from my point of view, and I'm assuming probably a lot of other people's as well. But just because how much money they actually get paid, especially someone like Terry Rozier, who was on a pretty good sized contract a couple of years ago, I believe, in Charlotte when he was playing for the Hornets and stuff after the whole Boston time and stuff. But I can't imagine that. He was making that much money off of rigging that one game, or if it was even several games. Like I can't imagine it was that much money to where it was worth his whole career and worth jail time possibly. I think that's the outcome that typically kind of comes out of this. But yeah, and then the UFC thing that happened a couple weeks ago, or I think two cards ago, with the fight odds kind of shifting a little bit and a bunch of money being placed down. Not that long before the fight, and then it honestly looked like the guy didn't even try in the fight. And I think I'm definitely not the only one with that opinion. But just super unfortunate. Especially as someone who competed in sports growing up, and I'm sure a lot of others as well. It's tough to kind of watch either your favorite sport or even I'm sure Terry Rozier fans are having a hard time kind of grasping this, but it's just tough to see your favorite athlete or even a favorite team and stuff like that kind of cheat and rig a game, even if I don't know. It's just stupid in my opinion, but and who knows how much there's really going on because the NFL, for example, the whole refs and Chiefs thing, like that was such a big talking point for a couple of years. Like that's how bad it was just for a couple of years. Like people were talking about, the refs kind of favoring the Chiefs and changing calls kind of late or throwing flags kind of late or throwing stuff that isn't there. Like just for lack of a better word, just obvious calls that were favored to go one way compared to the other. And I don't know. And we see it kind of in the UFC right now with some of the weird calls being called. And Jason Herzog is kind of being mentioned. So he's allegedly kind of being a part of the investigation, I think, because they flagged over, what was it, like 100 fights or something like that recently. And Herzog was, I think, a good amount. I think he was the ref for a good amount of those fights, if I remember correctly. But I could be wrong on that as well. But yeah, no, it's gonna be definitely gonna be an interesting development to kind of see on where it goes for the UFC and how they handle it, especially if stuff is found out, and to see how much even they might be involved. Because who knows? The thing that makes me say that is only because and it's not even anything they did necessarily. It's more of like the NBA and their whole thing with Terry Rozier, and I think they investigated Chauncey as well, but like I don't think that was really their deal. But the Terry Rozier game, I know they definitely investigated, and then they found nothing, and so it's kind of like, okay, like were y'all somehow having people that were also benefiting from that game or other stats that weren't being met for sports betting reasons or who knows? I don't know, some other reason, but it just makes me think like, okay, like how much has the UFC kind of known about this? Because again, you even have fighters coming out being like, "Hey, I've been offered money to like throw fights before," and I'm kind of with Dana. This may not be very popular, but I'm kind of with Dana to where he was like saying, "Well, why didn't y'all say anything beforehand?" And I'm kind of right there with him. Like, why didn't y'all say anything beforehand if that was the case? Like especially if these were fighters that ended up being pretty successful and stuff, and ended up. Hold on one second. Ow, goddamn. Excuse me. But anyways, no. So yeah, I mean, because again, like it's just like as a fighter, I feel like I would want to get those kind of people out of the sport. Like, there's no reason for me to say like, no, I'm not going to take that bribe, and then not even mention it to anyone. So I don't know. Who knows if those are even true stories of them even being offered to throw their fights. But yeah, just super unfortunate that sports betting has kind of become a bit of a stain just on sports in general. Not even a certain sport, but just kind of with it being everywhere and it kind of being a problem. Even the MLB, having their issue recently with those. I think with two of those pitchers. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see just where it goes in general, and see what the FBI or whoever's in charge of it really finds, and see what they even are willing to reveal. Because that's always a big thing, kind of like what are they keeping under wraps. But anyways, in other news, these past 2 weekends, I guess like weren't too crazy of cards. I know like this past weekend had like all 5 finishes on the main card, but I mean, outside of that, like nothing too crazy. Nothing that I feel like I really need to talk about that y'all haven't probably already heard. But the one thing I do want to say is that it's a shame people like Randy Brown kind of stay at the level they're at, because I do think that one of his issues is that he just has off nights more frequent than not. Because I don't necessarily think that like Bonfim is that much better of a fighter than Randy Brown. I think Randy on a good night makes that fight a lot more competitive and a lot probably leans a little bit more his way, because we saw him in the Dalby fight and he looked great, and I think he was just moving around a bit more in that fight. I'll have to go back and watch it to kind of like really confirm that, but I believe he was moving around a bit more in that fight compared to this Bonfim fight, and I think Bonfim's leg kicks were a big part of that, but I do think that if Randy was to move around a bit more and use his footwork, I mean, because he's got stupid length. I think if he were to kind of implement the same game plan that Pradas has for a lot of his fights, I think he could be a lot more successful than what he's shown. But again, it's just kind of like I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see where he goes from here, because he's always kind of hung out in that bottom 15-ish area in welterweight. He's got great size for the division. I just don't understand on kind of why he can't put it together as well as he definitely could. But good for Bonfim. That was a good win for Bonfim, especially after the whole Wonder Boy close fight stuff. We'll see who they match him up against. I don't think they're going to give him the Colby fight. I honestly don't think Colby's going to fight ever again. I think he's kind of hung it up and has his focus more towards other things like poker. But I don't know. I think I know the Weasel was kind of saying Burns. I think that's a good fight, especially if Burns wants to keep going. But Burns is just in a tough position along with a lot of those other vets, like Edwards this weekend. Getting fed another hungry prospect who's got a lot bigger fire than he does, I bet. So I don't know, but that's just real quick. I kind of want to spend a lot of time talking about this card coming up this weekend, because UFC 322 is honestly insane. I'm just gonna pull it up real quick, but I know that the main card is just incredible. I mean, obviously the main event, we have JDM and Islam Makhachev fighting each other for the welterweight strap. Super pumped about that, obviously, for Islam going up and kind of being, I guess doing just what Habib, or what a lot of us wish Habib had did at some point, was go up to welterweight and kind of challenge that whole division. But now we can see Islam do it, and I think Islam's a bit better of a well-rounded fighter. So hopefully it is pretty interesting. But I'll get to that here in a sec. I know that we have Zurzurkhanov, or no, it's not Zurzurkhanov. I'm adding letters in there that don't even exist. But Hamza Chimaev's teammate, who had his debut, I think, a week or so or something, or about a week, because he was on the Contender Series, so it was on Tuesday. And I think that following Saturday, if not the Saturday after that, he debuted in the UFC and got a second round finish. Got rocked really bad though at the beginning of that, at the end of that first round. So that was kind of interesting to see on how he handled that. But he's opening up the card, so we'll kind of see on how he does. I'd imagine they're going to give him a favorable matchup to win this. So I'd imagine he's going to win this probably within the first 2 rounds. Maybe even look better than he did his first fight, with a full training camp behind him for an actual UFC fight. Already got the UFC jitters out of the way, which I guess is nice. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, this even where they kind of put him after this and how fast they want him to rise, because he's only 24. So, I mean, he's got a lot of time to progress, especially in middleweight, to where it seems like the top's a little bit more shallow right now. Especially and with some of those vets kind of coming down here next couple of years, I think that could be. I think we could definitely see him matched up with a lot of those older guys who are kind of towards the end of their careers. But we have Dawkins coming up against Mearshart. I want to say Dawkins. I mean, just because he looked a lot better coming back. I forgot where he was at. I think it was Cage Titans. No, that can't be right. Maybe it is. No, it's not. Definitely not. But let's see, actually, real quick. It was CFFC. Which is that? Anyways, won a championship over there, and then came back and fought Michel Pereira and knocked him out in the first round. Looked incredible. I think he's probably gonna do the same thing to Gerald. I think he's just kind of found his groove, maybe outside of the UFC, just taking his time, kind of gathering himself and gathering his skills, kind of seeing if he probably really wants to do this or not. I'd imagine that getting from the UFC really kind of puts a reality check on whether or not you're legit for the sport or not. And I mean, hopefully he's found his groove. I think he'd be a fun addition to middleweight, especially with the size he's got. 6'2", kind of keeps that trend going of getting bigger and bigger middleweights. But yeah, I think Kyle Dawkins has got this one in the bag. And Pat Subtini, and I really don't remember these guys, honestly. Let's see, where's he from? Where's Pat from? So Pat's been in the UFC for a while. Not really fought any. I mean, he fought Damon Jackson a while ago. I haven't really seen anyone that's like super noticeable. But Marsco, I don't know. Marscal's got a pretty nice little win streak going on right now. Probably going to go with him just because of the win streak and the youth. It's only 2 years difference, but I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, going on next. Angela Hill and Klein. I think I'm going to go Klein. I think they're just kind of using Angela as a stepping stone at this point. I do believe she won her last one, though. No, she lost her last one. It was the one before that she won. She's 3-2 in her last 5. I mean, but again, I think they're starting to kind of use her as a name on your resume sort of thing compared to some of the other girls that are not quite at the end of their career. But I think Angela's she's kind of been at the end of her career for a while, in my opinion. Malcolm Wellmaker is back against Cody Haddon. I'd imagine Wellmaker is going to do good, but I don't think Cody's a walk in the park, kind of like some of these other guys have been. Not saying that he's fought bums necessarily, but I do think that, once we kind of start getting to that higher level of skill, we're going to really see where he's at, where Wellmaker's at. And I don't know. It'll be interesting just to kind of see on where he's at one, especially with his age. He's 31 for bantamweight, and I mean that's kind of getting a little older. Not necessarily the oldest, but he's definitely getting older. So he's kind of got to get moving, especially if he wants to get up there in those rankings and the top of the rankings and possibly even fight for a belt. I don't know. I think Wallmaker has it. I think the size is going to help out. He's 3 inches taller, so yeah, probably going Wallmaker on that. Blanchfield fighting Tracy Cortez. I think Blanchfield's got this in the bag. I don't think Tracy is as legit as some people may think. I mean, we've seen Blanchfield just kind of dominate, especially in the grappling. And Tracy is not afraid to go to the ground, I don't think. But it's just a whole different level with Blanchfield kind of being on top of you and trying to grapple you and just. I mean, she's just so dominant when she gets down there. So I got Blanchfield probably finishing that one. This next one's pretty interesting though. Roman Kopylov and Gregory Rodriguez. I just don't know. Because you have Rodriguez coming off of that nice knockout win off of Hermanson, right? And then you have Kopylov, who I believe is coming off of a win. No. Oh, that's right. He fought Paulo last. That's right. So here's the thing. I think Costa, with his experience and everything like that, was able to really push that 3-round pace, understood that Kopylov hadn't quite seen that before. And either Kopylov has gotten ready for that, because who knows, maybe Gregory is ready to do that. I just don't think he has quite the stamina to do that, to do what Costa did against Kopylov, which was just pressure, 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 and not really even let Roman think about throwing anything. I don't know. I don't know if Gregory's going to be able to hit him as clean as he hit Hermanson, especially if Roman's going to be able to move a bit better and stick on the outside. I could see him starting to pick it up later in the fight, especially if Rodriguez does start the gas and if Kopylov's working that body. I don't know. I think I'm probably going to have to go Kopylov decision. But I could definitely see Gregory winning. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a very tough fight in my opinion. And then we have Bo Nickel finally coming back against Rodolfo Vieira. I think Bo Nickel should have this in the bag. It'd be interesting though to kind of see the grappling between these two, especially if it does go to the ground. I'd imagine Bo's going to try to take it to the ground, and we'll see how Vieira can kind of handle that youth of Bo. And who knows? Maybe Bo's been working on his stand-up. Maybe it's gotten actually better, rather than just kind of spamming a jab overhand. I would really like to see Bo get better. As much as I don't like Bo, I think he would be a great addition to middleweight. It's just he's gotta get off his high horse, man, and like really dig deep in those training sessions to where he's learning that striking, because he needs it. I mean, obviously the wrestling's there and stuff like that, and I don't think he's too bad of a like he's just grappler in general with submissions and everything. I don't think his jiu-jitsu is too bad, but I just think that his stand-up just needs to improve a bit more to where people have to be a little worried about it, compared to him just having that wrestling threat and him only having to, I guess, even really take the fight down for people to start really getting worried while they're in a fight with him. But I got Bo in that one. It's probably going to be a decision. I don't know. I mean, unless Bo's striking's gotten better, I just don't think he's ever going to really reach the potential I think he had for himself, or a lot of other people did. But Neil Dariush is back against BSD. Should be a really good one. BSD looked dominant against Ruffy. Although Benil does have the striking and the grappling. I don't know. Because, I mean, Benil looked pretty good against Moicano. I thought Moicano was kind of stupid in that fight at moments. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that was like the cleanest Moicano performance or anything, but I think Beneil definitely showed that veteran presence, and I think he could definitely do it again. I'm not sure if he's gonna quite veteran him like Poirier did. I think that's just a whole different level in general. But I could definitely see Dariush winning this one with a decision. I just feel like BSD is just too stiff in the stand up, and Beneil is a little bit. Again, it's just that veteran feel that he's going to have to him. I think he's just going to be able to stand up a bit better than BSD. And I think even if it does go to the ground, they're both going to either cancel each other out, or even Beneil might have a bit of advantage in the submission game. Because I think BSD just kind of, obviously the judo is there and everything, but I think that he muscles a lot compared to Dariush and a lot of those other crafty veterans that are, they're technique guys. And Dariush could definitely hang in there. I might have to go with Dariush on this one. For, again, as much as BSD looked dominant in his last one, I just think that Dariush is going to have another veteran performance. So let's go Beneil Dariush on that one. I'm super pumped for this one, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to last very long. Leon Edwards and Carlos Pradas, I think, is going to end very quickly. Not very quickly. I shouldn't say very quickly. I think it's going to end probably within the first round, if I had to guess. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think Leon is going to be a bit too aggressive if he's even approaching that fight like that. If he's not, I think even if he's on his back foot, it's not going to be good. I think he could easily get hit with a lot of stuff that Pradas throws, especially against that, Jeff Neal. Like, Pradas just looked amazing in that fight. He was getting hit quite a bit. I think Leon's boxing isn't quite as good as Neal's. Definitely more of a, Muay Thai kickboxer kind of guy. And I think this is going to play right into Pradas' game. I don't think like the height or the reaches or anything is that like that is going to make too big of a difference between how Pradas normally fights. It should be, because he's fought Gary, and that was a good sign that he could fight against longer fighters without too much of an issue. So I don't know. I'm gonna say Pradas for sure. I think he's gonna hit him with the same thing that Nate Diaz hit him with. That kind of slapping 1-2. I think he's gonna catch Leon clean, and I think it's gonna be a TKO from there. But I don't know. Leon could actually show up. I just don't think that style is going to be too good against someone like Pradas, to where Pradas can kind of really pick his shots, and Leon's kind of got to really wait for the right opportunity to throw something back. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for him at all. Next up, another welterweight, Sean Brady and Michael Morales. I am really looking forward to this one, just because I'm super curious on how it's going to go. Now, Sean Brady, obviously, has like some of the best grappling in the division. And we saw that against Leon Edwards. Completely dominated him. Made it look easy. The only thing that makes me nervous is that Morales is his striking is, I want to say precise, but he does overswing. And I do think that overswinging could help Brady kind of get a solid takedown. But Morales' ground game is not a joke either. I don't think it's quite on the level of Brady, but I do think that he could hang with Brady for a bit. I could see just a Brady decision. But I very well could see Morales finishing it and getting a stoppage. Because, Brady can get hit. We saw that against Leon Edwards. He got hit a couple times. Not with any big shots, just because Leon doesn't really throw with that much power. But Morales does. And I'm really curious to see on what he can even land on Brady. and how it's going to affect Brady, because that'll be the most telling thing. I think it won't even be the grappling. It'll be on whether or not Brady can take that big of a shot. Because considering that we saw him get TKO'd by Bilal, standing. That's kind of the only thing that really kind of worries me about picking Sean Brady in this one. But I do think if it goes to the ground, Sean is going to have a little bit better of an advantage. So I'm going to go Sean, but I very well could see Morales winning this. The co-main event, champion Valentina Shevchenko, and I'm going to call her champion. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Weili is the strawweight GOAT. I think her going up to flyweight finally is perfect. I don't think she really has anything left down there in strawweight anyways. And I wouldn't be surprised too if Weili beat Shevchenko and called it a career. I think I think she'd arguably be the greatest women fighter of all time. I know that Amanda was able to kind of go back and forth between the two weight classes and defend those belts and stuff, but I think the competition of that Weili's had is a bit better than Nunes, but obviously that could be a whole last debate. And who knows? Maybe we'll have that, especially after this weekend if she wins. But I mean, Shevchenko's got a really tough fight ahead of her, and so does Weili, though. I mean, Shevchenko's not a bum, obviously. She's defended that championship more times than I can count. She's looked really dominant since winning the belt back from Grasso. She looked shaky there for a bit, especially against Santos, and then obviously with Grasso losing it, tying, and then winning it back. I think, honestly, she got into that phase where she was bored. I think some champions really do get bored of just being that dominant. And I think Santos is obviously a really good fighter. I don't think that she was necessarily like some other bum or any kind of bum. But I think she got bored and probably just overlooked quite a bit. And it happens. I mean, I think that's what's one thing about like Weili though that could put her over Shevchenko when it's all said and done. It's just that Weili never lost her belt. She had a close. Oh, she did lose her belt. Actually, I'm so stupid. She did lose her belt. She lost it to Rose. When Rose came back, I totally forgot about that. That's so crazy. I totally forgot about that. Well, never mind. I don't know. Maybe Nunes is always the great. I don't know. She's actually probably the greatest of all time. Now that I think about it, then, because she didn't lose her belts. Damn. I really thought I had something going there. That's too bad. But anyways, I think these women are going to be fighting for the second greatest of all time. A clear second. And it's going to be a very good fight. I think I'm going to have to pick Weili. I think Weili has enough size to come up to flyweight and handle it, just fine. But I don't know. I mean, Shevchenko's Shevchenko for a reason. She won it back for a reason. She's the greatest of all time in that weight class for a reason. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to see that fight, without a doubt. I've been looking for that fight for a long time, and I just wish they let Weili keep her belt. I don't think that's necessarily fair, especially for someone who defended it so much, and it was just so dominant as well. Actually, go up for a double title fight, I think would have been right for her. But anyways, so probably got Weili on that one. But again, I'm not going to be surprised if Shevchenko wins that. And then our main event of the evening, Islam and JDM. They actually have his Reebok. They have Islam's Reebok picture on ESPN right now. Not even like a more recent one than that. That's crazy work. ESPN. Okay, this might be a really hot take. I do think Islam finishes within 2 rounds. Now, the reason why I say that is because I was rewatching JDM and Bilal, and the takedown threat that Bilal had for JDM was letting him hit JDM so much more than should have happened, I think. And with, I think Bilal's technique's a bit better in the stand up, but I do think that Islam has that obviously power, and along with the more relentless takedowns compared to Bilal, I mean, Bilal didn't really shoot a real takedown. If I recall correctly, until like the third round. Like it's too late by then, dude. Like he's tired. You guys are all sweaty, slippery, bloody. It's just not going to be as easy as it could have been in that first round. And I think Islam knows that. And I think Islam's a bit more aggressive, again, like with the grappling. And I think that he can definitely implement that a bit better than Bilal did. Rather than, because it just looked like Bilal was a little bit more desperate to get a takedown rather than that's the game plan. And I think Islam for sure knows that that's the game plan, is to take JDM down. And JDM gives up his back a little bit too much, I think, even in those clinch exchanges. And that's just going to favor Islam. And I think Islam's going to get it done within 2 rounds. It'd be interesting what Craig Jones kind of implements to try to counter Islam. But I just don't know if Jack can handle that sort of. I just think we're going to see kind of Islam just be on a different level again, like we have been since he pretty much, it's like what, second fight into the UFC. Obviously, he got knocked out that one time, but for the most part, every time we've seen him in there, he just absolutely dominates. So it's a great card, though, dude. Great card. Definitely recommend sitting down and watching the whole thing. Yeah, there's just there's a lot of really good fights on this card, man. But really looking forward to this one. Everyone definitely enjoy it if y'all do watch it and decide to don't do any sports betting. No, I'm just kidding. But that's just such a shame, dude. I just kind of wish sports betting never existed in a way. Or I wish there was somehow some loophole to where, or not loophole, but some way that you could get people who aren't related or involved with athletes, just a way to make it as clean as you actually could. And I just know that's never going to happen. But I don't know. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the future of even certain sports kind of go on. But that's about it. Again, it's a little solo episode, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Hopefully there'll be 2 of us next week. And we will see you all then. Again, enjoy the card. Be safe. Have a great weekend. And enjoy the rest of the week. Hopefully everyone weighs in properly. I guess one thing real quick. Islam's size. I think Islam definitely put on some muscle mass. And obviously the whole creatine thing was a big kind of story for his camp. But I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference. I think he's just going to be able to not have to cut as much weight, which is going to help him out. And then I think he's going to be able to use that energy to either get going right off the bat really fast, or he's able to kind of even look fresher in the later rounds. But again, there's always that chance that extra muscle mass exhausts him a bit quicker. More muscles, bigger, or more oxygen and stuff, and more blood flow too. I mean, he could be really pumped up, but we're talking about Islam. I mean, this guy's training with Habib. He's training with some of the best guys in the world. They understand the game probably better than 99% of the people on the planet, and I'm especially conditioning wise and cardio and technique. I mean, those guys are just they're as good as you can get. So I'm not too worried about Islam being the one to gas out, because it's not like JDM's going to put on a Marab type pace, like we saw Marab do with Umar, and I think JDM's gonna have a tough night. I think Islam is gonna win that. I think probably defend one or two times and then probably call it a career. So enjoy them while we have them. Just like a lot of these other fighters, like Pradas and stuff like that. Even though they're kind of still coming up, they're kind of older. You know, a lot of them are in their 30s. So let's definitely enjoy these fighters while we still can. And again, I appreciate everyone who listened, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Stay safe out there and have a good one.